Good evening, everyone, and welcome into another special edition of SCTV Sports. Noah Keim, Steve Jones alongside you. We're going to break down the really exciting matchup we have tonight on national television between the Siena Saints and the Merrimack Warriors. Noah, this is a big matchup, not only for seeding, but also for these two teams and bragging rights, too.
Oh, absolutely. This game is one that both teams have had on their calendar, especially with the past game, especially for Siena, losing to Merrimack in the last matchup. We go on the road looking to get a big win. Both teams sitting at 18-9 right now. It's a big game for whoever can pull out the win this time.
Merrimack sits currently in first place at 14-2 in the conference. Siena holding down the third spot just by a half a game at 11-5. Quinnipiac is 11-6. We'll talk about that a little later on in the show and how standings will be a big part of this weekend. Now, Noah, the key part of the last game was the rising star, I should say, that is Keim Kennedy. He put on a clinic here in Albany just about a month ago.
He's been on an absolute tear this whole season, but specifically in his last couple of games, he's been scoring over 20 in like 3 of the last 4 games. He's averaging 17 points on the season. I mean, last game against Merrimack, we did do a pretty good job of containing him, but I mean, he's a star in this conference, and we're really going to have to lock in on him if we want to pull out this win. What do you see from him? What do you think we can do to maybe limit him a little bit? Just what do you see that Siena can do to help limit him?
Well, Keim Kennedy is not necessarily your ideal three-point shooter. He's still a rookie, too, so sometimes emotions can get the best of the young man, as we saw late in the game in Albany. However, he is as close to a 3-level scorer as you can have for your star player. He will beat you from deep, from downtown. He will beat you in the paint. He will beat you inside the perimeter, too. 3-level scorer, 3-point game, as I mentioned, not his best. However, he is able to knock down those clutch shots, and he'll put Merrimack on his back.
Yeah, and when you look at Merrimack, they have Kennedy, who's a great player, but I think Siena overall has the better depth as we look down the entire roster. I would like to shift a little bit to our last game against Marist on the road. We were able to pull out a victory, 67-63, and we had production all down the lineup. Antonio Chandler, 19 points, Gavin Doyle with 15 points, and Justin Schultz with 17 points. What do you think we can do to keep that train kind of moving, get the whole team involved? How do you think we can do that again? What are some things we can do, maybe some lineup adjustments, stuff like that? What do you see from that?
Yeah, so this one's absolutely a big game tonight, folks, as we mentioned. Playing at Marist, that was a key road win. Siena was up big in the second half, and then the lead just kind of dwindled away a little bit. Marist played some great press, and they kept Siena within striking distance. However, free throws won the game for Siena. They were able to pull away late and, hold Marist off, which was key. They've been a dominant road team, it's safe to say, Noah. Their road performance has been some of the best on the season. They swept Marist, which is huge for the regular season standings and seedings as well, too. And they're going to a Merrimack gym tonight where it's been probably, outside of MVP, one of the biggest draws all season in the MAC because of how good they've been. Their promotions and their promotion team are great, and everybody just loves the create chaos and to make chaos his own defense that Joe Gallo and Merrimack provides. But for Siena, it's going to be beating down that Merrimack zone defense. We know they're not a great three-point shooting team. We know Merrimack is a great three-point shooting team as well. But you got to beat down that zone defense. Going backdoor, I know we saw a lot of possible backdoor alley-oops to Antonio Chandler, finding him on those low blocks as well. Francis Folafak and Riley Mulvey will have to be big in the paint tonight too.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention while you were talking, I was thinking about the production for Francis Folafak. Last time we played Marist, he had a great game. 22 points, 4 assists, 10 rebounds. Great game all over. But recently he's been, not as integral to the game. He's been playing well, but not to the standards where he's having 22 points. But again, last game against Merrimack, he had a big game. What are you thinking from him? Do you think he can have that same type of production against the same Merrimack team?
I'm a guy who always believes that if you own a team, you own a team. Francis Folafak went out and had a great performance, 22 points, 8 for 14 from the field. He was spotless from the free throw line at 6 for 6, 10 boards as well too, 4 assists. It would be really cool to see him elevate those numbers and turn it into a triple-double. But I do believe Francis Folafak will have a big game tonight. 7 offensive rebounds, too. That's another thing to keep in mind, too. Siena must control the offensive and defensive glass tonight versus Merrimack. No second-chance points.
I agree. And to your point where you were saying if a team just owns a guy, that's how it is, or if a guy owns a team, that's just how it is. We were talking about Kennedy before. He was in single digits the last time we played them. Despite them getting the victory, he didn't have as star-studded performance as he normally does. Do you think that's something that can continue, or do you think we still need to fully lock in on him and don't just think, oh, just because he had a bad game last time? he's going to do it again. What do you see from that?
I really like Kaveri Kennedy at home. He is, in the most true sense of the word baller, he is a baller. Absolutely. 14 points on 6 for 16 shooting, 1 for 2 from the free throw line. He had 6 assists too. The young man has that presence of mind to say, okay, my shot's not on right now, or I just made a couple of mistakes on offense. I'm going to swing the rock. And when he did, that gave opportunities for guys like Todd Brogdon to step out and hit a 3. When you have a big man who can do that, step out, play the 4 or 5, and hit a corner tray ball, that's huge. As well, Ernest Shelton was fantastic. 4 for 10, shooting 40% from downtown. As a single individual person on the team, that's critical.
Yeah, speaking of downtown shooting, that is something that recently the Siena team has kind of struggled with. We get our business done in the paint, but obviously that 3 ball is huge to pulling out these wins. Do you think we should maybe stay away from the threes, or do you think we should, just fight through this rust? We've seen us have games where we're shooting really well from 3. We've seen games where we aren't shooting very good, especially in the stretch recently. Do you think this is something that we should, kind of stay away from, or do you think this is something that we just keep the ball moving, keep doing what we do, and the shots will fall eventually?
Yeah, after seeing that Merrimack zone, Noah, I do have to say I would try shoot the 3 ball a little bit, but you also have to play your game, play to your strengths, right? Don't try to outplay Merrimack from downtown. However, if the shot's falling, definitely keep shooting. It started working for Siena in that second half. However, they must find ways to beat down that Merrimack zone defense. It's one of the best in the country. It's a really fun zone to watch, to be honest with you folks watching at home. But they need to find a way to break that down. And as I mentioned, we saw many backdoor plays with Antonio Chandler, who had a double-double alongside Folafak in that last game too, and Riley Mulvey and Francis Folafak, as aforementioned. They've got to be big presence in the paint too, especially on guys like Brogna and Ugwakazi too. Each of those 2 guys got in a little bit of foul trouble. More Ugwakazi who fouled out than Brogna, but Brogna had 3. If they can make those guys pick up some silly ticky-tack fouls, that would be big for Siena too.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you're saying. We're going to go ahead and take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to continue our breakdown and go over some of the key success for Siena against this Merrimack team. Stay with us.
Siena University isn't just a new name. It's a promise of opportunity, mentorship, and a community that sees and supports you. Scholarships that honor your achievements and your future. It's hands-on learning from day one, with professors who know your potential and prepare you for what's next. Saints rise here, learning to lead with skill and heart. We go by Siena University, but what we deliver, everything a university should be.
Welcome back to SCTV Sports. Me and Steve are going to continue breaking down this matchup between Siena and Merrimack. And what we want to touch on now is some of the key success for the Siena team as they look to go get this crucial win against Merrimack on the road. My first key for the game would be ball security. We talked about before the break how good of a zone defense that Merrimack plays. And I know and you know and everyone watching for the most part will know that the key to breaking a zone defense is ball movement. Ball movement, ball movement, ball movement. Pass to the inside, pass to the outside, just trying to break that zone and relieve pressure and get some open shots. But on the other hand, last time we played Merrimack, we had a hard time with ball security. We had 10 turnovers, and that was crucial. I mean, the way you win a game, the way you put points on the board is keeping the ball, and without the ball, you can't do that, obviously. So, good ball security. What do you think are some of the keys to maintaining that ball security for the Saints?
Yeah, the margin of turnovers, Noah, was 10-7. Merrimack had 10 steals, too, compared to Siena's 2 steals. So active hands in the passing lane is going to be something that's big for each team. And obviously with the zone, it's going to be potent. And we know how unforgiving that zone defense is by Joe Gallo and the tremendous job they do in North Andover with Merrimack basketball. But in the meantime, for Siena, they've worked on keeping the 4 and the 5 position, having that ball high in the post. You don't want to lose it and have a turnover and lead a team to possibly have numbers in transition. They've worked with Folafak and Mulvey on keeping the ball high, working on those post moves, and finding maybe a cutting Antonio Chandler or going downhill with Justice Schultz or finding Doty on the elbow. And we were talking about in the break, Doty and Schultz, they make their money from inside the perimeter. They're really good shooters from downtown as well, but their sweet spots inside the perimeter, especially right in that elbow to right in the paint, right around the nails, they say, kind of area. So finding that extra pass will be key for the Saints.
Yeah, and I think going back to our point before the break where we were mentioning how we're hoping Francis Folafak can have a really big impact again in this game against Merrimack like he did in the last matchup. And when you play in a zone like this, I mean, he has the ability and is going to have the chance to make that big impact. The best way to break a zone is getting the ball in the middle. That's the weak spot of the zone, and he's going to be the one being there. And he's going to be able to get easy looks. He's going to be able to rack up those assists and stuff like that. And I think he's going to be able to have a big impact. Maybe not all on the stat sheet, but his impact will be felt throughout the game by his teammates, the other team, and everyone watching. It'll be seen and it'll be felt.
Let's switch gears now to the three-point margin, and we'll talk about that. Merrimack shot 9 for 20. There's not a lot you can do when a team is hot like that, especially Ernest Shelton, who shot 40% from downtown. He was on. He went 5 for 6 from the free throw line, too. Just another separate little note. But in the meantime, they shot as a team 45%. Siena shot 25%. That 20, the difference, that's a large striking number.
Let me interrupt you for a second just to make one little point. Usually we see, especially on the college level, that teams tend to shoot better, especially from 3 when they're at home. Now going on the road, we saw Merrimack shoot great against us on the road. Do you think we'll be able to do that same thing, shoot great against them in their gym? Or do you think maybe it'll be Merrimack just was on that night, they got it, they were able to do it on the road, despite all the noise and all the Saints fans cheering? Do you think they're going to be able to keep that momentum at home? And then do you think we can maybe disrupt that a little bit and do our own road shooting, if you will, and get our numbers up on the road rather than at home?
Well, it'll all depend on the man-to-man matchups. We know that Siena would rather like to run a man-to-man compared to a zone, so we're going to see a really interesting chess match here between the two coaches. But in the meantime, it'll be all about the defensive assignments. Who has Ernest Shelton? Who has a guy like Todd Brogna? How will Siena defend a guy like Todd Brogna, who is the 5, who can step out and shoot that tray ball that we talked about before the break? Or who will take care of an Andres Marrero up top? The Atlantic 10 transfer has that A-10 experience. When you're coming from a nice mid-major program like the Atlantic 10 to the MAC, you have just a slight advantage in terms of quickness of play. You have all those great schools right now. St. Louis, who is ranked. I believe Marrero came from LaSalle. St. Bonaventure, always a good program too. But when you have that advantage and you learn how to play at the A-10 level and the MAC level, that's an absolute tough assignment night in and night out for no matter who is guarding a man like that. But in the meantime, as we talked about, the man-to-man matchups are going to be pivotal for Siena. How can they stop, and how can they stop the Merrimack 3, and how can they challenge Merrimack to get uncomfortable behind the three-point line? That's going to be one of my keys to the game too.
Yeah, and you mentioned it being a bit of a chess match when it comes to coaching. I think the coaching aspect is going to play a big part in this. You have a team that plays a lot of zone. You have a team that plays a lot of man. If Siena starts, maybe manipulating that zone, getting a lot of good looks, do you think they would be able to make that adjustment to go out of zone and say, hey, we're going to switch to man? Or do you think they're going to stay pat in their zone, do what they do best, and just stay true to who they are rather than panicking if things start to go a little haywire? And then same thing goes for Siena. If we're in man and it's not working so great, do you think we could potentially switch to a zone? Or how do you think that's going to go? Because it is going to be a complete chess match by both coaches.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's going to be adjustment based, right? Who's on? Who's not on? Who's maybe getting beat on the pick and roll, or who's maybe getting beat from downtown. It's all about matchups. I definitely think we'll see a couple of matchup switching probably and possibly before it's like, okay, hey, we got to get to a zone real quick and figure it out. However, it wouldn't surprise me. You got to stop a good Merrimack team. This is a big road game. This is obviously, as we talked about too, nationally televised. So obviously you want to make sure that your team's looking good. And this is a chance to prove to everybody, hey, we're coming for the MAC ring. We're coming for the MAC ring this year. But in the meantime, it's all about the matchups, all about switching matchups too. If so-and-so isn't on, or if so-and-so is getting beat downhill or in the pick and roll, we'll have to see what Siena does. And I'm very curious, as everybody else is too, to see what we do.
Yeah, and with that 1 seed comes pressure. Everyone knows that. When you're a 4 seed fighting for a chance, you kind of got nothing to lose. But when you're that 1 seed and you're looking to maintain that number 1 spot and you have expectations, that's when the pressure really gets on you, so that can really affect things. And I think, like you said, matchup base. You're going to be able to, Siena's going to be able to interchange. If someone's getting beat off the pick and roll, someone's getting beat off the first step. They have a deep roster. We've seen a multitude of guys on this team who are able to contribute and contribute effectively. I mean, we've had, in the recent games, Francis Fullfack hasn't been as involved, hasn't been able to put up at least the numbers that he's used to putting up and we're used to seeing him put up. So having a guy like him who on any given night can go out and have a 20-point game with 10 rebounds, that's a dangerous game to play with the Siena Saints, and I think Merrimack could be I'm sure they know that going into it, and they're going to be ready for it. But that's just a little secret weapon we got in our back pocket is the depth of our roster.
Oh, absolutely. So as you mentioned, the matchups will be pivotal. On top of that, it's going to be hard to stop a guy like Kaveri Kennedy coming from the Philly circuit of AAU basketball, a 6'2 guard who honestly moves like a shooting guard and small forward on top of his handles, as well as the ability to just not step out and shoot the tray ball occasionally. That's a tough matchup and really a matchup nightmare. However, for Siena, we know that first half was a little bit rocky, but that second half was strong, and they figured out ways to stop Kaveri Kennedy. However, the supporting cast is always just as important as the main star, too. Stopping Ernest Shelton, stopping Casey Uguakazi, too. He'll come off the bench and post some big numbers, whether it be blocks, rebounds, putbacks, anything like that. He's going to be big for Merrimack, and as is Brogna, too.
Yeah, and going back to the Marist game a little bit, just talking about in terms of closing out games, in that Marist game, we pretty much dominated across the board in every statistical category we had them beat in, but despite that, it was still a 67-63 win for the Saints. So not as, maybe as big of a margin as we would expect. And then we look back at this last Merrimack game earlier in the year, we lost 63-59, so still a close game. I mean, the same score margin by 4 points in each game. So how do you think we can either get over that hump to, get that 4 point to get a little bit over Merrimack to edge them out? I mean, this is a very good matchup on both sides, a very close matchup, very similar teams. But also, if we do get ahead, how do we make sure we maintain that and make sure we don't let up a little bit? We just keep the pressure on as the game goes on and don't let it be a close game and just, go in, take what's ours, the victory, and then get out of there. How do you think we can do that more than we had been maybe in this Marist game? Yeah,
for Siena, they controlled the glass, which was so key as to their comeback, right? They were down 38-22 at halftime. They outscored Merrimack in that second half, 37-25, pulling it to within 2 points at one point, 61-59 as the game rolled on under the final 2 minutes. However, you have to control the glass. Casey Gugelkazi and Todd Brogna will be tough on Riley Mulvey and Francis Folafak. But if you're Merrimack, you're thinking vice versa too. Riley Mulvey and Francis Folafak are going to be tough on their 4 and 5 positions too. And we know we'll see both teams absolutely come in, have two bigs playing at the 4 and the 5, trying to get rebounds and becoming each other's matchup nightmares, or we may see some small ball too. Both coaches will play that. We'll both see Folafak, who is, playing a 6'7" center. Yeah. That's amazing to me. Mm-hmm. His footwork, his ability to shoot the ball. He is also a 3-level scorer, folks. We don't see him shoot the 3 ball as often, but a little side tangent. And Mulvey, too. Mulvey's a tremendous presence down low. Yeah. Ball control and rebounds are going to be my keys to the game for Siena.
And I would say, don't be surprised if in this game we see a starting lineup come out at the beginning of the game, and then we come out at halftime, maybe the starting lineup looks a little bit different based on how the game's going. Don't be surprised if you see that at all. We're going to take our last break, and then when we come back, me and Steve are going to give our official predictions for the game. Stay with us.
This is what happens when professors know your name and your dreams. You discover what you're capable of. This is what happens when research and internships start right away. You graduate ready for what's next. When scholarships are guaranteed, doors open and opportunities become real. This is what happens when friendships feel like family, where you learn to lead with skill and heart. This is where Saints rise. This is what happens at Siena University.
Welcome back to SCTV Sports as we continue breaking down this Siena-Merrimack game as Siena looks to go get the road win against Merrimack. We're going to give our official predictions now. Steve, I'll give it to you to start off with.
So for my final score prediction, we were just talking about this during the break. Merrimack has done a really good job in the past few weeks holding these top 6 teams in the conference to under 60 points. They held Quinnipiac last Sunday to 49 points. They held Marist last week to 56 points. That is an impressive margin for 2 top 5 teams in the conference who are looking to win it all in Atlantic City. But for me, my final score prediction, after a 63-59 Merrimack win, I'm going to go 64-61. Siena gets that key marquee road win, one of the biggest ones of the season. Noah?
Yeah, I'm close with you. My official score prediction is that the Saints will get this win 65-60. And based on everything you said, I completely agree. I think they're also going to come in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder after winning that game against Marist maybe by a little bit less than they were expecting, and especially coming off a loss against Merrimack in the last game. I think they're really going to want to come out and prove themselves, especially on the road. They lost at home. They didn't defend home court. I think they're going to go look to try to steal one against Merrimack on their home floor. My prediction for the leading scorer is going to be Francis Folafak. I think he's going to have another big impact on this game like he did in the past. He's been struggling a little bit of recently getting involved, getting points on the board at least, and I think he's going to come out and show his presence on the court, break that zone a little bit, and make the right reads. What are you thinking for leading scorer?
I really like Gavin Doty, only because Gavin Doty got hot in the second half last game, and I know this is a game he has had on his mind, circled on his calendar since that January matchup. So I'm going to go Gavin Doty with 18 points. And for Merrimack, I'm going to go Kaveri Kennedy 18 too. I believe both of those guys may not reach 20 because of how good these two defenses are as a team. However, it's going to be an exciting one. And for Siena, it would be great if they could rack up back-to-back road wins down in Poughkeepsie. You take care of your I-87 rival, and then you go just north of Boston and take care of Merrimack on the road in a great environment, one of the best in the MAC compared to Siena too.
Yeah, we're winding down the season. It's definitely this is a huge game for seeding. It's going to be a photo finish to the end of the MAC standings.
Well, for folks in the Albany area, you can tune into Jams 96.3. Emmanuel Barbari and Connor Fenlon have the call. Their pregame show starts in just a few moments. And over on ESPNU at 8 o'clock, Derek Jones, Tim Welsh on ESPNU, Siena Merrimack. You got to love some good mid-major Friday night hoops, man. Oh, yeah. Got to love it.
Can't beat it. Thank you guys for joining us. You can follow us at Siena Communications TV on Instagram and find more content from us as the semester rolls on this YouTube page. Have a good night.